Everybody, welcome to the CT Sports Talent Show. My name is Christopher Saunders, and hey, you know what? It's great to see Valley guys doing their thing. Even though this guy's not in the Valley anymore, he's now a part of the SEC with Amity. He is the head coach. George French is with me, former head coach with Derby for 15 plus seasons. Coach, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Anytime. Thanks for having me, Chris.
It's great to see, and I know you have a couple Valley guys amongst your staff. I know also the assistant AD is also Joe Stockmel, former head coach of Oxford rather, champion at Hill House when he was there coaching football. So with all that Valley kind of in the program and such, I mean, do you feel like you guys kind of made it kind of the Valley extension a little bit per se?
We have our fun with that in our closed meeting room, and we have a lot of laughs. But we're an Amity football team. Don't let anyone fool you. We're Bethany Woodbridge Orange. That's what, and we're very proud of that. But the guys have taken to all the new guys very well. The kids love all the new coaches that we brought in, and they
Mhm.
love Mr. Stockmel, and they love they're very happy and gracious to Mr. Goodwin for allowing us to bring all them in. So things are going well right now with them.
It's funny because what you guys have done this year, just to correlate it with what's happening in Derby, my partner and I were talking about while we were broadcasting the career Woka game on Friday about how we're in a society where things just want to be microwave. People want it so fast, right? And I think some of it has to do with the phones, technology, getting information like that instead of allowing things to kind of maturate and such. And I think with Amity and Derby, what you guys both have done being 3-0, it's like in previous years, the struggles were there. And I think being able to build through that and to kind of allow things to bake, I feel like it's a lot more appreciated in amongst your eyes and maybe the people in the community. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, our last game, we had a great crowd, absolutely packed bleachers. There's people all around it, and they really appreciative of what the program is turning into right now. I
Mm,
mean, trust me, we're a long ways away right now. We're a long way, but the kids are working hard. The
mhm.
people are very happy with what's happening. It's more of like a family atmosphere at our games. We've got everyone involved again. We have the bands are involved, the cheerleaders, the dance teams, full display of support from whether it's the administration, the students, the parents, everyone's just fully engulfed in what's going on, and they're very happy so far.
I was doing the baseball championships last year, and Amity won the title. And there was a young kid pitching. I think he was a freshman, sophomore, looked like he was a senior beyond his years, stud guy. And Amity has had success as far as winning championships in various sports. Do you feel like some of that success? I don't know if those kids play football. If they do, then this will make sense. Has any of that success in the playoffs helped kind of speed up this development a little bit because you have kids in other sports who have competed in high level games?
We have a couple baseball players on the team, but our whole team is made up of multiple members of all their teams. So our kids don't play one sport anymore. We try not to. We want to push all our kids to play lacrosse and play and wrestle and play basketball. So we have a strong makeup of all the programs. But some kids on the team, they don't want it to just be a baseball school. They want to see other sports thrive, and they've really jumped on top of that. And I'll be honest with you. Right now, they're blowing my expectations away so far. I mean, getting that first win against Shelton right away. I mean, that kind of blew my mind a little bit. But the kids have put in the effort. They put in the summer work. They dedicated themselves, and
Mhm.
this is the fruits of their labor right now. And like we tell them, it's one game at a time.
Mhm.
Wilbercross is next. We're 3-0. We didn't win the Super Bowl yet. We didn't win a state championship. Just take it. Wilbercross is next, and that's it. Don't look past that.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I was talking to Steve Boehner, former head coach at Derby, now at the baseball side with Woodland, just won a championship himself. So congratulations again to him. He and I were just talking a little bit about looking at some of the teams that have shocked, right? You guys have surprised, Derby has surprised, there's been some others. And he made a great comment to me about how, because he knows the guys in the valley, and he was talking to a particular coach and he was saying how, like, hey, obviously you guys are doing very well, but you're playing a very tough team coming up on Friday that can really run the rock, especially from the wing T formation. And this is the first team that's really going to challenge you within the trenches because they've been facing teams that are spread offenses. They like to throw the rock, etc. So for you specifically, coach, how difficult is it as a staff, because you guys are all excited, kids are excited, to
Mhm.
not look too far ahead? And like you just said, you got Wilbur Cross. Focus on them because obviously every team you play is looking to pull the upset against you guys.
We speak constantly about staying grounded. And we do little things like we shut off their access to future teams to play on huddle. So they can't even look at their video. They right now can only see Wilbur Cross. So that's it. We're not looking at Jonathan Law. We're not looking at East Haven. We're not looking at Guilford. We're looking right now at Wilbur Cross, and that's it.
Mhm.
And even when they ask a question, we'll just look at them like Wilbur Cross. Don't worry about it. And that's the way we talk to them because we have to. Because if we keep the minute we look past them, we're in
Mm.
trouble.
Is it kind of like the Bill Belichick? We're on to Cincinnati, we're on to Buffalo. That's it. Nothing
That's
else.
it. That's it. Everything will take care of itself. It's just Wilbur Cross right now. That's it.
Coach, how much of your time when you were in the Valley with Derby and such do you equate to kind of because I know you took some time off and then you came back to coach at Amity. How much of because every year I feel like coaches are learning, there's always an experience, the highs and the lows. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
being a part of Derby at the time, it's a smaller school, obviously, so you're not going to have the fruits of picking from hundreds of thousands of kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
What you got is what you got, which is sometimes good in a lot of ways too. But how much do you equate going through that, the ebbs and flows, to now being with Amity?
And I was hired as a young head coach at Derby. So
Yes.
there were a lot of things I learned over that decade, and I look back on well, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. And
Mm-hmm.
there's some things that at Amity I'm correcting myself from my time at Derby. The patience is as you get older, you're more patient. I'm more patient with things than I wanted to do this and this and this and this. And I'm like, you know what? I'm calling a game at Amity. I'm just gonna sit back and run the ball still. Maybe I might have jumped the gun and threw the ball a little bit more, or I was a little more patient with some of our running backs developing now than I might have been at Derby so the patience part of it you really see and with how we do things. On top of that, I hate to say this like this, but that season off with COVID and everything, it rejuvenated me. I mean, we were off, we were home, we were because I was burnt out. I really was. I was really burnt, and it really brought me back to life and how much I missed coaching kids and working with kids and getting in coaching the game.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, over the last 20 years of coaching, you learn a lot. But I might have learned the most over the last year, that 1 year where I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't in the game. And you saw, there's some things that I can bring to the table still, and that's why we came back to Amity.
It's funny that you mentioned that too, because I hear that a lot from coaches that kind of take a step back. Some of them don't come
Mm-hmm.
back for obvious reasons, either family or just like, you know what, my time has come and gone. Now I want to sit back and relax. But for you
Mm-hmm.
to be able to kind of reflect a little bit, it's some coaches when they stop becoming head coaches, some go to coordinators, right? Like Coach Mott
Mm-hmm.
with Woodland. He won back to back as far as getting to the playoffs. I know they struggled
Mm-hmm.
as far as winning those games, but faced good teams as well. But now he's the DC with Naugatuck, and he's got those boys. I mean, he's got a lot of tools. I was talking to him at my stag. He's got a lot of that defensive side. He's just loving it.
Yeah.
He's a great coach. But being able to take coordinator jobs fits for some. Others just taking that step back. It seems like, like you said, allowing yourself to kind of regroup, recharge, get yourself, where you want to, if you have the opportunity to come back and things look like they worked out well. Amity was open, you got the job, and away we go, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't like rushed into anything. I was, 3 years as an assistant under Coach Bruno. I got to learn a lot, and I got to see a different side of the game and how he handles things. And he was a phenomenal football guy. He's got multiple state titles. He did over Brunel. He had a great time over at Naugatuck. I think he had two state tournament berths when he was at Naugatuck. I mean, he's a great coach. He did a lot for me
Mhm.
and learning with him over those 3 years. And I didn't want to be a coordinator. I didn't want to be a head coach. I just wanted to be an assistant. He put me in a position to be that. He gave me a simple role, and that's what we ran with.
Mhm.
And it was unfortunate when he got injured. His back was really, and I'm happy to see he's up and healthy. They just honored him this last week. Him and his state championship teams over at Bunnell. So it was really nice to see him out with those guys and everything. And I'm really grateful what he did for me to help me get the job at Amity, and it wasn't expected. Like I wasn't like Craig was still there, and I decided not to coach. I wasn't looking for head coaching jobs. It's just something that landed on my lap. I guess at the right time, right place.
Bunnell's also having a great year. I think they're 3-0.
Absolutely.
I think they beat what was it, Xavier week 2, week 1, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They've had a great year as well. And that they're another one with Coach Jenkins as far as that build up where things are now really starting to come together. And you wonder
Mm-hmm.
now is the pop going to be this year, right? It's great to see the buildup over the last couple of years when people are patient and not just
Mhm.
expecting. Because I feel like when people expect, that's when the downside starts to come in, you
It's
know?
it, it's fun seeing new teams going at it. It's
Yeah.
a lot of fun seeing faces you didn't expect to be at 3-0 right now. And
Mhm.
remember, it's still early though. It's We're 3-0 and we got a long road ahead of us.
Oh, exactly. I remember in 20, what was it, 2019, Naugatuck was 5-0. Then Tishabamba, Malachi Gaddison, Chabelle. I don't know if you remember that. All those injuries start to happen
Oh yeah,
and they become 5-0 to 5-5. That was Salazzo's last year. And I remember the Ansonia Nagy game on Thanksgiving. There was maybe like 100 people.
yeah.
It was eerily odd, but because of all the injuries, it was kind
Hmm.
of predicted what was going to happen. And Ansonia rolled Nagy that year,
Yeah.
you know. So I kind of want to go back a little bit. You mentioned about Coach Bruno and being with Naugatuck, and it sounds like he was a big part of your growth as a coach.
Hmm.
Was there anybody else that was like that too?
Oh, I had a lot of guys that I go to in a heartbeat that as
Right.
a coach I've grown just from them. I mean, from Charlie DeCenzo, meeting with him on a regular basis to Chris Anderson. I still talk to Chris weekly. He's done a lot for me growing, and especially because we're running the same style offense right now. I mean, we sit down and we've talked. I remember him calling me. We got to meet right now. Okay, I get in my car right after work and I go meet him at Naugatuck. I mean, we laugh about it, but I mean, he's one of Butchie Marazi and Rick McGowan over at Amity right now helping me out. They've done some things for me in the off season, and then there's always Ronnie Leno, who's always been
Mm-hmm.
someone I can go and talk to at a moment's notice. I mean, I've had a great group of guys
Mm-hmm.
from the we call it from my Derby bloodline, but also the old Whoosy heritage. We call it. You can give a call to, and they can talk to you and give advice, and they're always there for you.
It's when I'm broadcasting Naugatuck games and we have Naugatuck Watertown on Friday, I call Anderson the mad scientist because the way that he's always thinking about, between offensive plays, the way that he's always trying to scheme certain things, you never know what Nagy's going to do offensively because you see different between guards and tackles pulling, they'll
Mm-hmm.
shift, they'll do whatever, they get to the second level. It's like the way that he's able to draw up scheming is so impressive. And it's again another comment too is that when because he's calling the plays offensively, it's almost like he's the pitching coach in baseball. He's doing everything with his hands, he's shaking, he's moving. And there's been a couple times where the weather's extremely cold. And I'll tell my broadcast partner, well, the one person who's warm is Anderson because he's constantly moving. He never stops.
No, he never stops ever. I don't know when he relaxes. I really don't. He's got football on the mind and how he's going to get that next win and how things are. What's the next move? And he's always on the ball and he's always doing it. But he has a lot of movement. We don't use those hand signals at Amity, so you'll see me sometimes. I'm cold. I'm not doing what he does.
Hey, you know what? It works for some, not for others. Some can do it in different ways without all the hand signals and everything else. So when you got to Amity, as far because I always like to ask coaches when they go from one conference to another, so
Mm-hmm.
NBL to SEC, what was the difference as far as not so much the talent side, but just play calling, seeing the schemes and all that? Because I know in the NVL it's kind of back 70s, 80s. Now it's changing a little bit with some
Mm-hmm.
air raid, but still a lot of it is with the ground, ground and pound going through the trenches. Is it like that in the SEC or is it a little bit different?
There's similarities in the leagues to an extent, but then when you get to the upper echelon of the SEC, when you're talking your Fairfield Preps, your Cheshires, your Hands, your North Havens, they have their own identity, but they all want to run the rock. And that's what they do. And they come at you in different ways, and they're very well coached, and there's numbers everywhere.
Mhm.
So you're talking I remember my first game as interim when Craig got injured was against
Mhm.
Cheshire, and there was 100 and something kids that were out there, and they two platoon, and they had the best player in the state, in my opinion, last year. The kid that went to Notre Dame this last year, Matt Jeffrey. He
Mhm.
didn't even have to come in the game against us. He was banged up from the prep game the week before, but we saw him on the sideline. He was a monster, and they have there's kids upon kids upon kids, and
Mhm.
that's what you see at a lot of these schools. I mean, Fairfield Prep's got big numbers, Shelton's got big numbers, so they could two platoon. So that's one thing that you don't see a lot of in the NBL. You got guys going both ways, and I got guys going both ways now at Amity. Don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
But at these other schools, even Johnny Law's got two separate teams, one whole offense, one whole defense. That's it. They don't play it, they don't cross over. So that's the one big difference. I mean, you got guys getting a lot of breaks and there's a lot of numbers.
That two platoon system has been kind of the bugaboo for Naugatuck the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
They're facing the FCAC with the New Canes, the Darieans, and
Mm-hmm.
Naugatuck have been in those games. They have not been blown out. They've actually competed better than the teams that played against those said teams later on in the playoffs. And the
Yep.
biggest thing has been with the two platoons when you've got a Noggy team that has kids that play both sides, especially with the conditions, the long season. By the second, third quarter, because these are dogfights, kids are gassed. And
Mm-hmm.
like I'm sure you've known with your time at Derby, when you're facing teams that have two platoons, it's like, okay, well, I can only get so much out of my kids because they're gassed by the second and third quarter.
Yeah, they got to be in extreme shape. I mean, they really do. I mean,
Yeah,
I got to see all Chris's games against when he was against New Cane in that first year, then Massick or vice versa, and then
yeah, it was Massick, New Cane, and then
yeah, then Darian. I mean, he was in all three of those games. They were fighting to the end,
Mhm.
and it's just they overwhelm you sometimes because there's so many more
Yes.
kids coming at you. It's just it happens that way, and if you could have the opportunity to
Mhm.
do that, like I said, our program we're not there yet. Would I like to be? Absolutely. Our numbers are growing.
Mhm.
We're just not there yet. Especially it's really year one for us as a whole, as a coaching staff and everything. So, but the kids are competing. They're doing the best they can, and they're doing really well for us, and they love what they're doing. It's just that's one area where I see the difference. Like I really do see the difference. SEC football in there.
Mhm.
There's numbers. It's a numbers game.
Now
And
I
and,
know.
and
Oh,
go
I
ahead.
apologize. What were you saying?
No, go ahead. No, I'm just saying that and to throw on there, there's a lot of old coaches in that league that have been around the game. I mean, experience does a lot too. I mean, you got guys like East Haven, Scott Benoit, who's been around the game when he was at North Branford and Hamden and all them. These guys have been around the game, so they know what's going on. They understand the systems. They know how to be patient. They learn, because there's always a lot of young coaches that are like I was, a lot of fire, want to do things right away. And these guys are like, yeah, you're going to burn yourself out. They're right.
Now I know that you kind of kept tabs or try to in the NVL when you can. There was a player last year named Jet Hall from Naugatuck, probably once in a lifetime
Great
talent.
player. Great player.
Now, I it's funny because not that I have arguments, but I have very, very heated discussions with certain people about could that have translated his playing style in other, like in the FCAC, the SCC, the SWC? My answer is yes. That
Mhm.
kid could have dominated, maybe not at the same level, but I think he could have been an excellent to above average, even better player if he was in the SEC, the SWC, the FCAC. What says you? I'm just curious.
He's playing for me right now if he's there. I don't know what anyone else is talking about. Who's saying otherwise? He's playing for me. So I mean, the kid's a great talent. I mean, I believe he's at University of New Haven, right?
Correct. I think he's a
So
safety or something.
yeah, he's at University of New Haven. He's a talented football player. University of New Haven's a very good football program.
Yeah.
So he's going to play for everybody, and that's my opinion. I mean, he's playing for me. I ain't throwing him out. What am I going to throw him on the street? You're out. You're crazy.
Well, it's funny, UNH, and I don't know if you're familiar with Anna Marie with Coach Kroos, former.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you are okay. So, former head coach at Holy Cross, an NVL guy, a Valley guy. He's got a bunch of NVL guys in his program. UNH, maybe I don't know if it's by coincidence or not. They've got some Valley guys too. You got Jubina from Ansonia.
Mm-hmm.
Ingram is also from Ansonia as well, the running back. Jet Hall is there. I think there's a couple others, but it's nice to see the Valley kind of spread out and go to Division 3, Division 2, Division 1, and also do well.
Absolutely. It's just great seeing kids from the whole, whether it's the NVL, SEC, it doesn't make a difference to me. I just like seeing all the different kids from Connecticut, excel in college.
Yeah.
Go have fun, go enjoy yourself playing football, get your degree, and go be a success. It's great seeing all of them, whether it's Anna Maria, it's UNH, it could be Curry, it could be Southern Connecticut State, it could be Framingham State or Fitchburg. It doesn't matter to me. Go out there and have fun, go play football.
How about Ethan Miner from Wookett? He's at Mississippi State. I found that out on Friday from Coach.
Really? That
Yeah.
one I didn't know. That's awesome.
Yeah, he was there in 20. He was there when Coach Hovey was there. He had
Okay.
played a couple games and then he transferred and went prep. But I had forgotten about him per se because I knew he transferred and then I kind of lost track where he went. And then Coach Bell had told me on Friday before the game. He was like, "Yeah, I was talking to Ethan because Bell was on the staff when Hovey
Hmm.
was there, and he had mentioned how yeah he's at Mississippi State. He's a senior." And I was like, "No expletive, no way. That's cool."
Wow, that's awesome. Good for him. I mean, he made something of it. This is the career choice he made, and he went and found it. That's awesome.
Yeah, especially playing in the SEC Division One football. That crowd, Hail State with the bells and all that doesn't
Oh,
get.
that's awesome. What an experience.
I know. So, Coach French, before I let you go, I really appreciate you coming on.
Mhm.
Obviously, the jump that you guys have had this year is fantastic, but we kind of dove into it a little bit. For yourself, how tough is it, especially with the years that you've been coaching now and you've grown so much? I
Mhm.
know you talked about with the kids about making sure just focus on Wilbur Cross. Is
Mhm.
it tough for you too to not kind of look a little bit ahead, just a little?
It's tough for everybody, no matter who says what. It's a good tough for all of us. It's just we got to be disciplined in it, and we just got to know we have an opponent who's coming to see us, and their job is to beat us.
Mhm.
And we got our job is to be 4-0 right now. So we have to focus in, stay right on track, and even when I want to go click the huddle over and look at law, I got to go stop, go back to Wilbur Cross. We got a job to do.
Hey, French, Coach, I really appreciate you coming on. It's great to see this, the success that you've had. Obviously, I've known you since your time at Derby when I first started at the radio station. Now, being years later and seeing the success at Amity, it's awesome. And congratulations, dude. Keep it up, man. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Now, wrap things up here in the CT Sports Talent Show. So next time, stay safe. Marriage CT stands for Connecticut Talent. Find them all. Enjoy this shit, everybody, and be well.